This here's the Warlord, one half of the legendary Powers of Pain. Here with Hannibal TV. You better watch it, because I watch it too, or otherwise I'm coming for you.
This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com, and today is my special guest. We have former WWE, WCW, NWA, Japanese wrestling star, the Warlord himself, who still looks exactly the same as always. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good with all these crazy times right now.
Yeah, crazy times. I understand you had some personal connection to this virus going around recently.
Yeah, my dad caught it, 82 years old. He's doing a lot better now. Been about 2 weeks now. He finally broke a fever, and he's doing much better. No energy, no taste and smell, but he's doing a lot better. And my stepdaughter is doing much better also.
That's good. As somebody that's been a bodybuilder all their life, where I live here in Ontario, the gyms have been closed for over 100 days now. They're still not open, but luckily they're open in Quebec, so I'm commuting to get my weightlifting in. Do you think that it's a good idea to have the gyms closed this long, but for instance, bars are back open here anyways? It seems like working out hasn't really been a priority.
Ours is just the opposite down here in Florida. The bars and everything, they're pretty much closed down. If they are, because they're serving food that they're open, but they cannot serve alcohol. No alcohol right now, and which kind of kills everything on that. But I think it's a good idea, because that's where all the kids are congregating and going and all getting sick right now. But our gyms have been open since June 1st. I go to a gym, and we haven't had one case the entire 5 or 6 weeks right now. And you know, the gyms are so good for your stress. They're so good for your immune system. To keep them shut down is such a bad thing, because it hurts people so bad. People need that. People need to get away and get something. And just going to a gym makes you feel so. I mean, we go to my gym, you got to wear a mask on the way in. There's a big thing there. You put your face in there, it takes your temperature. If you're over 99.5, they don't let you in. You go in, you take the mask up, you can work out. And as soon as you're done, you got to put the mask on the way out. And they got people that clean the whole time. And it's been great. It's been great.
For the period of time that the gyms were closed, was that the longest you've ever been out of the gym?
Yeah, it drove me crazy. I could only do so many push-ups and taking those rubber gimmicks and doing your biceps, and it drove me nuts after a while. You can only do so much of that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand for the size that you were, and for the size of most professional athletes and bodybuilders, you can't maintain that without very heavy weights. Is that right?
Yeah, you got to have some kind of, you're not, when you get older, you're not going to go as heavy anymore, but you still got to try to maintain it. You still got to use weight to maintain it.
Now, when did you actually start working out?
Back when I was about 18 years old, when I first went to college. I was as tall as I was, but I was skinny. I was about 195 pounds when I went to college at University of Northern Iowa.
Did you play any sports before college?
Yeah, actually, when I grew up, I was actually an amateur wrestler. I was a AAU champion 4 times, 4-time national champion AAU. I played basketball. I started my senior year in high school. I didn't even play football until my senior year in high school because I played soccer. And it's funny as could be, and because we had great coaches, we were a 3-time state champion. And my senior year, they retired. So, of course, the football people were all over me. And I went to play football, and I was lucky enough to get a lot of scholarship offers and went to University of Northern Iowa.
Did they ever offer you a situation where you could wrestle and play football with your wrestling background and Iowa being known as a big wrestling state?
You know, it's funny. In the off season, I would actually go work with the guys. It kept me in shape also, because they didn't, the heavyweight really didn't have anybody to go against. And if you know anything about Northern Iowa, they're usually in the top 10 every year of college wrestling. They're always in the top 10, right with Iowa, Iowa State, all those. They're incredible how good they are. And it put me in great shape. Plus, I learned a lot from it.
Did you ever consider going into pro football after your college football days ended?
Yeah, I thought about it, but I really wasn't ready for pro football. That's a whole different thing.
Even the CFL?
Even the CFL.
Okay. So what did you do after college before you got into wrestling?
I actually landscaped, and I worked security for clubs. Like most of the guys who work security for clubs.
I see. And is that where you ran into Road Warrior Animal?
Actually, it is his gym. It was a gym in Plymouth, Minnesota back then. It was called The Gym, and that's where all the elite people came out of Minnesota. And I just happened to be training there all the time, and he just come up and started bugging me about trying to professional wrestling.
Were you a fan of wrestling at all prior to that?
I watched, actually, when I was an AU champion, I was actually in 5th grade, and Vern Gagne brought me on the AWA show with all my medals on my jacket, because I just got done in Missoula, Montana, winning the championship for AU in my age group and my weight group. And so he brought me on there to show me, and then I started to watch it after that. I grew up watching Billy Robinson, of course, Nick Bockwinkel. I love Nick Bockwinkel. The old guys, which was a lot of fun watching. And then I really didn't watch it. When the Warriors were there and that stuff. By then, mostly because they had been down to Georgia. Once I really got involved and really started to watch it, at that time they're in Georgia by then.
Who were some of the more impressive guys that worked out at Animal's gym that went on to become wrestlers?
Well, guys, I really didn't know most of the time, but I'll tell you the guys that came out of Minnesota. You had the Road Warriors, Animal and Hawk. You had the Berserker, Johnny Nord. You had Brady Boone. You had Rick Rude. You had Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig. You had the Beverly Brothers. You had Scott Norton. And then I came out. You had some monster guys come out of Minnesota.
Wow. How is the Berserker doing these days? Have you heard anything? Because I heard he was not doing too well. I
haven't heard anything about Johnny. Every time I go do a signing or anything, I try asking about Johnny and that stuff. I really haven't heard much. I just heard that he was kind of still in the dealership business of cars, as far as I know yet. Outside, I haven't heard anything else about his health or anything.
So Animal approached you, thought you had a good look. Was he the one that hooked you up with Eddie Sharkey?
He's the one that hooked up with Eddie Sharkey.
So I guess from that time, did he already see you as like a potential opponent?
I don't know if he did or didn't. I've never really asked Animal in that. I didn't even know where I was even going to go. I didn't know if I'd even make it. Because I know professional wrestling, it's tough. People don't realize how tough it is.
What was the training like with Eddie?
Well, this was Eddie's training when I was there. It might have been a little different when Animal was there, but when I was there, he would go ahead. We'd come there. First of all, we trained at a church downstairs, Minnesota, 30 below outside, and no heat in the place. So we had to wear long sweats to try to keep you warm. No wrestling ring. We put together wrestling mats. We taped them together so we could wear things on there. Now you're in there slamming each other on top of concrete. Then you're doing all these moves, and a lot of times your feet would get caught between the mats, and you tear your ankle, just turn it around, so your ankles are all swollen all the time. And Eddie would mostly get there. Most of the time, he was drunk for the night before at this time in his life, and he would just get there and he'd say, "Guys, I want you to do this." One time he told us, "I want you guys to practice, the hitting in the chest." And he'd take off, he'd go get a coffee. When he'd come back, we'd all be black and blue. Our whole chest, all the blood vessels would be broken because we'd be pounding each other so hard. But it was, Eddie was Eddie. He taught me the very good basics.
Did you ever bounce at Grandma B's where some of the other guys worked?
No, that was about 5 years before my time. No, all those guys I know Scott Norton, I know Hawk, Animal, all those guys. Rick Rude, I think, was there. They all were at Grandma B's in Minneapolis. That was a rough place in University of Minnesota.
How were the clubs that you worked at in those days?
They weren't as rough as that. Actually, I worked a biker bar. That was pretty rough. We had a lot of guys that, they would go at it, man. You just take them by their goddamn hair. They always had the long hair, snatch them by the hair and yank them back, and they'd knock it off, No, nothing like Grandma B's. Grandma B's was tough.
I see. Did you ever run into Jesse Ventura before you made it in WWE?
Yep, this is a good story. One time, I was a three-time arm wrestling champion in Iowa, Nebraska, and also Minnesota. And I went to an arm wrestling show in Minneapolis. Jesse Ventura was a guest referee. Well, of course, I made it to the finals, got to the finals, and Jesse looks at me, and when I come up there, no one knew who I was. I was a nobody. And he goes, kid, he says, get ready to get your ass kicked. Jesse was, And I look across this big, afro. It was when Rick Rude had the big hair back then. It was Rick Rude. And I guess he was, he beat everybody back then. The only one he didn't beat was Scott Norton. Scott Norton was a world champion. And I got up, I didn't think anything. I put him down. And Jesse looks at me, who the hell are you? He's looking, what the heck? Wow. I beat Rick that day. I beat him.
Wow. Did you ever witness any of these stories about Rick over the years? He was supposed to be one of the toughest wrestlers ever.
Oh, Rick was tough as could be. Rick on everything. He could fight. Rick could fight.
There's been a lot of rumors about his passing, whether it was an intentional overdose or an accidental overdose. What's your theory on that?
I really couldn't tell you. Rick. I talked to Rick a couple times after I left WWF, and we had talked a couple times. And everything seemed normal all the time when I talked to him. So you can't tell what they're thinking inside. You don't know.
Now, when you actually moved on from the wrestling school, where was the first territory that you went to?
It was actually the NWA. Animal told me to get some photos made up. So I got a girl to do some photos for me. She did a nice job, but I look like a lumberjack. I totally look like a lumberjack. I said, oh, my God. Well, Animal took him down and gave him to Dusty, and Dusty liked it. And Animal comes back. He says, Terry, you got 7 days to get down to Charlotte, North Carolina. And I've got this old 1978 white Pontiac Sunbird I'm telling you, the doors were rusted shut on this thing from the winters in Minnesota. And I drove it down there. Everybody else is driving these nice Mercedes. I'm going on in a 78 Pontiac Sunbird, all rusted out.
Wow. I'm surprised it made it from the sounds of it.
It did a good job. Actually, sometimes a couple days the guys had problems with the cars. I'd put them in my car, no air conditioning, no nothing in Charlotte. We'd get in that car and go, and it would go. It drove.
What were your first impressions of Dusty when you met him for the first time?
Dusty was very nice. He was straightforward. He was a booker.
Now, as far as the Warlord name, did you come up with that, or was that something Dusty and Animal helped you with?
It was actually Animal. Animal helped me with just about everything. We were at the gym, and Animal's center, and he's going to me. He says, we got to come up with a name. So we started going through, and of course, thinking of the Road Warriors. It's kind of a spin-off of the Road Warriors. The Warlord just came up, and no one used it, and it was a great name.
And I guess at some point before you became the Powers of Pain, you also went to Central States Wrestling around Missouri.
Yep, that was a fun time. Kansas City, that's a tough territory. You're going to be in a car about 5-6 hours, about 10 hours a day, just long drives, middle nowhere, little farm towns, and that's how it is. But you learn the business, you learn it.
And I understand was probably one of the lowest paying territories at the time.
Yeah, you had to chase Bob Geigel down for the money. You'd go to his office, get money, and he'd try going out the back door real quick. So I'd always be at the front door and have somebody sit at the back door. When he comes down the back door, they grab him, get our money all the time. Yeah.
Was Harley Race still kicking around at that time?
Nope, Harley was not there at that time. Nope.
So I guess after that run, that's when they brought you back to Crockett, and you became the Powers of Pain?
Actually, you know what? I actually went to Japan after that. I went for New Japan, and 5 weeks, my very first time, and that's tough going to another foreign country, the first time in your life, and you're a kid yet, and being there for 5 weeks of just a culture change. And Bam Bam was on that tour. That's right before he made his big debut in the WWF and that stuff at that time. He was on that tour with me, and Bad News. Well, he was Bad News Brown at that time, or Bad News Brown at that time. And he helped me a lot over. He kind of took me under his wing and took me around, showed me the good places to go eat, the way I could try eating and that stuff. And he helped me out a lot. I had a lot of respect for him on that. And then after that, when I got back, I looked at the territory. I see there's nothing for me to learn here anymore. I went back to Minnesota, and I just went back to landscape at the time. And then about a couple weeks later, my mom gives me a call. She said, Terry, J.J. Dillon gave me a call. He wants to talk to you. So I gave him a call. I don't know how he got my parents' number in Minnesota. I don't have a clue. And he said, we'd like you to come back down to Charlotte again.
Okay. And that's when they put the team together?
No, not yet. I did a lot of singles for a while. I actually worked against Barb sometimes. I worked against him in Atlanta. I worked against him a few times before we ever got together. It was probably about maybe 4 or 5 months before Barb and me got together.
Did you always get along with him even before you were partners?
Yeah, we always got along. I always remember one funny thing about Barb when I first came to Charlotte. Somebody told me, yeah, there's this big guy, he's Tongan, and he really doesn't talk much. And he says, his wife is really, really big too. She's Tongan Samoan, So he trained at the gym I did over there. And I went in one time, they had their oldest son now, Joey, in like a little cradle thing. And all he saw was his big feet. And this thing. He was huge. I said, oh my God, wow. And that's actually like how I kind of met Barb.
Did you have to modify your workouts much once you got on the road with wrestling? Obviously, it's going to be easier when you're not traveling those long distances between towns.
I planned every day around my workouts, everywhere I went. I was very good at remembering things. Well, back then, I knew where every gym was. I knew the equipment. I knew everything. Actually, I didn't. Actually, I trained hard all the time. It didn't matter. I mean, when you're young, you can do that. You can get away with it. Your body can. I mean, you could have a workout all afternoon. I mean, like I said, I would plan everything. I would plan my getting into my flight, getting my rental car, getting to the hotel, getting my food, about an hour rest, go to the gym, get a good workout, have a nice meal before you go to your show that night. Every day I plan that way because, the people are paying good money to see you. And, when you come with the gimmick you got, if you're going to keep it, you better stay with it. And you better take it serious.
What was your split like usually in those days?
As far as
like, would you do chest with back? Would you do chest with arms?
Yeah, I did. I did chest and back. I would do. Let me think. No, I would do chest with biceps. I would do back with triceps. I did legs by themselves and shoulders by themselves. That's what I would do. Yeah.
And how long was your average workout?
I think I remember I went 5 days on, a day off, 5 days on, a day off, if I remember right. And it didn't matter if I trained on Sundays, whatever. It was always 5-1, 5-1.
Okay. And what would it be, like 2 hours a workout?
Whatever I could get in. It depended, sometimes I could get a little bit more. Sometimes I couldn't get because the plane was delayed. That goes and all that stuff, and things, just things aren't lining up right the way they shouldn't. You just want to get there and get what you can in. But when you're there, you didn't talk. You just got right into your training and trained hard.
How many sets on average per exercise?
I've really never changed that throughout the years. I do like maybe about 12 on chest, maybe 13 at the most. Biceps, maybe 10. Triceps, about 13. Back, you do a little bit more because back's a very vast area. I probably put about 15 on back. Legs, of course, you keep that up too because that's half your body. But I split that up. I also split that up into doing quadriceps, and then I pick another day to do my hamstrings.
Okay. What did you think about Arnold's routine where he would do legs at 1.3 times a week?
You know, when you're a kid, like I say, you know, Arnold was a different cat. Arnold was good at what he did. You know, if you're not, you know, traveling, the problem is we traveled every day in a different city, and you know, your food's not going to be the same. Everything about the day is not going to be the same. So you really can't travel. And plus, you know, trying to perform in a ring every single night. I don't think Arnold could have done 3 times a week and got into a ring every single night. Tried doing that. It wouldn't have happened, you know, because I mean, for those guys, he ate, slept, lived bodybuilding. You wake up in the morning, you get a workout, you take a nap, you go back, you do your second workout. I mean, you know, they get a lot of rest all the time. Plus, you know, everything's right there for food and that stuff.
Now, did you keep a fairly strict diet because you never really had any excess fat on you?
No, I ate everything in the world back then. I actually ate ice cream all the time. I ate cake all the time back then. I ate anything I could, anything to keep calories in me, because I was burning so many calories between training and between wrestling every single night. I was just burning a ton of calories. I mean, if I would travel and have a layover in a city somewhere to catch another flight, I would try to go find food there, you know, whatever I could. I mean, and then I would get the next plane as soon as I get there, get my rental car, get my hotel, eat there again, you know, train, eat after that again, do my show, and then eat after that again. If I had a 6 o'clock flight in the morning, I'd be up at 3:30 in the morning so I could make sure I go have a good meal every all the time.
And I'm guessing those meals were always high protein.
Yeah, a lot of protein.
Any advice for traps? I noticed you still got huge traps.
You know, the biggest thing is I did a lot of weight when I was young. I mean, I actually did over some 1,000-pound shrugs where I actually had to take put 2 things around my wrist on each one so I could hold the bar. Because I tried it one time, I went flying, the thing, the straps just broke. So I'd use 2 sets of straps on each hand to lift it. Usually I would just, well, back then I would just, you know, to maintain all time, put 500 on there and just do like 20 reps. Boom, another set, 20 reps, another set, 20 reps. Do some upright rows, you know, and then of course when you do good shoulders, you're working your traps involuntarily really good too.
Wow. What are some of your best lifts overall in the gym?
Back then it was chest. I did well over 600. I think my best I did was 640 if I remember right. I actually curled 225. I did it for 12 reps curling. I did upright rows at 225 for like 10, 12 reps, upright rows. You know, legs, I didn't go super heavy on squats just because I didn't want to hurt my back really bad. I went good, you know, but not too heavy. But I went heavy leg presses, and I would do probably, you know, 12, 13, whatever I could put on the thing, I'll put on there.
Did you wrap your
you
knees
know,
when you were doing squats?
Always. You don't know. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Now, as far as becoming the powers of pain, how did they explain that to you?
That was actually another of Animal's ideas. He saw Barb and me together. He said, "You guys look incredible." And the thing is, you guys are bigger than we are, and that's a good thing. And we just started to kick around names again, and that was a time. Unfortunately, the name fit good because shortly after this, when I heard Hannibal in the ring, with his eye socket at that time, and we came up with the powers of pain.
Now, what were some of your early feuds with when you were the powers of pain?
We first started, it was actually the Road Warriors, and we had great hardcore matches with the Road Warriors. I mean, big moves, this, that. I mean, you had 4 guys at our size and the way we looked that could move, that could do anything. I mean, it was great, and people loved it. You know, it was good because the Road Warriors, no one had ever really challenged them because how big they were. And now they actually had this monster team come in that can actually take them down and put them down. So they actually became true baby faces.
I'm going to guess that you got along well with Hawk as well.
Hawk was great. He He was a sweetheart. He was crazy, but I love him for it. He had a big heart, big heart.
I know you weren't much of a partier, so I'm guessing you wouldn't really join Hawk out in the bars.
No, I saw many. Listen, I went to the bars like everybody else. I just didn't. I stay away from all the bad stuff. Hawk, I saw him come in the bar one time. He'd drink the bar. He'd drink the drink. He'd throw it at the guy. Then he'd throw it on the floor, break the glass. Come out a couple seconds. He'd come in and grab another drink, throw it on the ground. After he's done, throw it on the ground, break the glass. I mean, Hawk was. It was Hawk. You know, sometimes he wouldn't show up for a couple days. I mean, it's the way he was.
Now, as far as Jim Cornette, I'm sure you had some interaction with him in the NWA. How was your experience with him?
Oh, Jimmy's another guy that he's one of those guys you could give one word to, and you could talk about that one word for the next hour, not stop. I mean, he's so good at talking. He's such a smart individual. The way I met Jimmy is I first came to NWA, and my apartment was on the bottom. We didn't know that Jimmy Cornette's was above mine. Well, every night I couldn't sleep because he stayed up all night long, and he would pace. He'd hear all this noise on the ground all night long, and the next morning when I'd be up and that stuff, he'd be sleeping. So I couldn't sleep at nighttime because he was always up.
Wow, he was that intense.
That was Jimmy. Yeah.
You had to press him once, at least once. Was he easy to get up?
Jimmy's a little large on the bottom, but no, Jimmy's easy. I mean, he could do anything in that ring too. The guy can work. He can work. I saw him with Baby Doll. He can work.
And everyone remembers the famous bench press angle that you did with Legion of Doom. Does that stand out as one of your career highlights?
Oh yeah, that was so much fun. It's funny because at that time I was new in the NWA. I was still, not established yet. And that kind of helped establish me. Barb was already established. I wasn't yet. And Barb and me were driving to Greensboro from Charlotte. And there's this long line of cars. I mean, all the way up to the freeway. And I'm talking, it's like miles off the freeway, Greensboro Coliseum. I said, what the heck is going on? And so we kind of went around it all. And finally got to the building. It was all cars to go to the show. I'm saying, oh my God, wow. And we got to the show, and people were just filing in. And at that time, some guys were just jealous that I was getting an opportunity like this, But, that kind of helped cement me as being finally, who I am, the Warlord, with my partner Barbarian as Powers of Pain, that we sold out Greensboro completely. They had to turn away a whole bunch of people in there. But that bench press contest was, we did it, and there's some things that you don't. When one of the things we did, I mean, it came out great. It's one of the best gimmicks I've seen. It just came out so perfect, and you can't pre-plan it. You just do it. But the one part where I threw, when Animal got up and Barb gave him that big boot to the face from bench press, and I turned around, I threw his head into the weights. There was like, I think 500 pounds on it that time on the bar. And it went over. Well, it just so happened when Ivan hit Hawk with the chain, he went down there. That thing just barely missed Hawk's head, hitting his head. And it actually cracked the concrete right there. I mean, it was just, and then afterwards, you got 20,000 people, and there is one sound in the whole, all you see is chalk coming down. Ivan, Paul Jones, Barb, and me standing there. The Warriors of Paul are laid out, and not one word at 20,000 people. So you hear pins drop in that place.
When you guys were heels with heat like that, did you ever have any fan attacks or any situations like that?
No, because they would have got their ass beat. I actually Barb, one time we were in Albuquerque, and we were coming back from we went out, did a show in Albuquerque. After we were coming back out, and some fan came up and threw a big glass of, I think it was alcohol, so probably a beer or something. But the problem is, you throw in the face with that face paint on, it's like acid in your face. And it got into Barb's eyes. He tore apart that railing. He grabbed that guy. He clotheslined that guy so hard on that floor. That guy was out. Well, we got back to the locker room. The police came back and said, blah, blah, blah. So we got somebody that wants to press charges. So I said, okay. So what the cop did, he did the right thing. He told the guy, he opened the door. He said, listen, you want to press charges? That's fine. It's going to take a while for somebody to come here. But you have to sit in that room with that man until they come. And Barb was just, Barb, he was just foaming at the mouth. I mean, he wanted this guy. And the guy said, no charges on mine. He wanted nothing to do with that. Nothing.
Did you guys kayfabe when you were at the gym? If someone would come up to you for an autograph, would you still be heelish and so forth?
No, not really, because you're pretty much like, the cat was out of the bag already by then. People knew what it was and that stuff. They know it's entertainment. It just wasn't showing as big as entertainment was today. But people, I don't take fans for being stupid. I never have, never.
How was the pay in those NWA days?
It was okay. I mean, for me, it was a lot more than I ever made in my life as a kid. I mean, I came from Minnesota, and my first paycheck, my first week, I got $1,500. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be rich. I mean, I was ecstatic. I was like, wow, this is incredible. Wow, I mean, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was so happy.
Well, yeah, even today, that's pretty decent money.
Yeah, I mean, for not killing yourself and anything else, I mean, I was so happy.
And of course, you were supposed to have this scaffold match, I guess, against the Road Warriors, travel around, I guess, and do it, but you ended up jumping to WWE. Barbarian told me in an interview that was directly because you guys knew you would be the ones falling off the scaffold, and obviously Jim Cornette got hurt. So you guys were smart enough about it to go somewhere else.
Well, there's something else that happened during that time too. Is we were getting ready to start the scaffold match. We knew we were going to be the ones that have to fall, and sooner or later, either Barb or me is going to get hurt bad. I mean, you got 300-pound guys coming down with all that momentum. It's going to happen sooner or later, And it just happens that right before it was going to happen, Grizzly Adams, at the time, he was an agent for the WWF. He got a hold of Barb's number and gave Barb a call. And Barb called me up. He said, Teddy, he goes, Grizzly Adams called me. He's the agent of WWF. They wanted to fly us into Atlanta tomorrow morning. We had off that Friday. So okay, we're off. I mean, the tickets are waiting for us at the airport. Just go to the airport, tickets waiting. So we went to the airport, flew into Atlanta, got to Atlanta. There's a limousine waiting. Limousine took us to this nice hotel. Got to the nice hotel. They gave us keys. They go to this room, go to that room, open the room. Who's sitting there? Pat Patterson, Hulk Hogan, and Vince McMahon. Wow. Wow. I've seen these guys on TV, but wow. And we sat down, and they started going through their spiel to us. And at the end, Barb never talked much. He was never a big talker. You met Barb. He just not a big talker, And he went ahead and he says, well, what do you guys think? And Barb looks, he goes, when would you like us to start? I said, wow, we're going to start? He says, well, we want you guys to start next Monday. And this is a Friday. we got all these things coming up. He goes, Teddy, we go WWF. Okay, Barb, I follow you, man. You're my brother, man. So we get back that night. They flew us back. Had to be in Baltimore the next day. Supposed to work with the Warriors and everything that day. And it just so happened the animal was still supposed to be hurt. So we get to the ring with Ivan, Barb, and we had the 6-man tag belts at the time. And we were going to wrestle against Paul Ellering, Dusty Rhodes, and Hawk because the animal was hurt. We get a ring, and just about ready to start as we Barb and Hawk ready to start. We get the Road Warriors music come back on again. I'm like, what the heck? And I look up, and here comes Animal with a face mask on, hockey mask, with his spider on there. I'm like, I didn't even know he was even here. He came to the ring. He got in the ring. He tagged Hawk to start with Barb. I'm like, wow. All of a sudden, he ready to lock up. He pulled back. He looked at the people. He ripped the hockey mask on. His face paint underneath that. He threw it to the people. Now, you know what happened there. a lot of fights to get that mask. Everybody wanted that thing. And we went through the mask. We got disqualified, but we still maintained our belts. And we got to the back. And, of course, Barbie started drinking some beers real quick. And he goes to Dusty. He says, Dusty. He says, we go to WWF Monday. And Dusty's jaw just dropped at the time. I mean, he's like, what? He's like, we go WWF Monday. Animal comes up. He goes, good. Very good. Good place to go. Because you guys are going to be the ones going down every single day. Well, we already knew that, So, I mean, it was crazy.
Did Vince make any financial promises to you in that meeting?
Nope. Just that probably be working a lot. That's what he said. And we want to push you guys.
And you knew that WWE was going to be a big thing, I guess, at that time because it was on NBC, I think, already by that point. And WrestleMania had started. Yeah,
WrestleMania. I mean, everybody works to get to WWF. Everybody does. That's king, and it'll always be king, always.
Now, when they first brought you in, they had you with Baron Von Raschke, who was usually a heel, but you guys were baby faces with him as the manager. Why was that so short-lived?
I really couldn't tell you. No one even knows. I don't think even Barb even knew. We did things also. And one day, Baron wasn't there anymore. I mean, I thought it was a great idea. We painted his face, put that like white eyes, put that hoodie over him like the way it was. I mean, I thought it was a great gimmick. Really good. And he could talk really good. It was good.
Was he on the road with you for those shots, like traveling with you to the different towns?
No, not really. He was pretty much just TVs and any big shows. Yeah.
And I guess Tito Santana also managed you for a brief period.
Yeah, for a little bit. Tito. I love Tito. Great worker.
You guys had some good matches over the years as well.
Yeah, Tito was actually when I went singles, he was one I worked with for a while, and Tito was he's such a great worker. He probably got the best throwing punch of anybody in the business. He can wind all the way back like a baseball player throws and put it right on the spot without actually smacking you. I mean, that's tough to do. I don't care how it is. That's tough.
Now, when they brought you in, were you aware pretty much right away that you'd be feuding with Demolition?
Yeah, they told us that was what they wanted to do because actually it was a tag team. They had told us that I guess they had gotten hurt and they want us to fill their spots. And so they're going to be pushing us right away, and they eventually want us to work with Demolition.
Barry Darsow, of course, is from Minnesota. Had you met him before?
Oh, I know Barry very well. In fact, I saw him back in January. Barb and me did a signing with him and Bill Demolition out in Texas at the time. And it was nice. It was really good seeing those guys.
Now, they're kind of underrated as a tag team. People don't remember really how over they were. I think they were better known overall than the Road Warriors at the point where you were feuding with them. What was it like crowd-wise facing off against them?
Oh, Demolition. They got one of the coolest outfits I've ever seen on anybody. Their outfits were, besides maybe Undertaker at the time when he first came out, their outfits were so unique. I mean, just gladiator style outfits, and they did a very good job portraying Demolition.
And Mr. Fuji managed both Demolition and you guys. Any thoughts on him? He's obviously really well known for his ribs behind the scenes too.
Oh yeah, Fuji was great. Fuji was one of the people, if he liked you, he'd look after you. If he didn't like you, keep one eye open all the time. Always. He will get you sometime. Yeah.
Is there any particular rib you witnessed him playing on someone that seemed particularly bad?
The only one I saw, it wasn't his worst. I know he had far worse because I heard about him. When I got there, it wasn't as bad on the ribs as when he actually wrestled. He was much worse on the ribs when he wrestled. The worst one I ever saw is he went to the bathroom. He took a dump. He grabbed it out. He didn't like this one guy, so when the guy was kind of relaxing, he went in and put it under his goddamn face and made him smell it.
Wow.
And that's not a bad one for Fuji. That's not a bad one.
Did that guy happen to be Outback Jack?
No, it wasn't Outback Jack. No, I know things happen with Outback Jack. I've heard about that stuff, but no, it wasn't Outback. No.
I think Dynamite Kid was particularly the one that was going after Outback Jack.
Yeah, Dynamite went after a lot of people. He went after a bunch.
Were the British Bulldogs, I guess they were pretty much done by the time you guys got there.
Yeah, there was some heat going on with Davey and Dynamite. Dynamite liked to push things. I like Dynamite a lot, but he did like to push the envelope hard. Of course, everybody knows about them and the Rougeau was their big feud, and that was another one that Barb and me were on the West Coast, and they were going to shoot. Everybody, pretty much everybody else was on the East Coast, and they're going to do TVs in New York. So Barb and me were the only ones they flew from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast to do the TVs at that time because they're pushing us. So we just got there. And as soon as we get there, we're just starting to get ready. And also here comes in Dynamite. He's got blood all over his face. He's missing a couple teeth. I mean, just looked like someone just beat the heck out of him. And I found out it was the Rougeaus. They had a lot of heat with the Rougeaus building up. And the Rougeau, they went in one. They were in the dining room at the same time as Dynamite. They watched them. Right when Dynamite was getting up, one of them took off first, out the side door, waited. And the other one followed behind Dynamite. So as soon as he went through that door, they both nailed him at the same time, and they beat the heck out of Dynamite. And pretty much after that, that's when Vince said, "You guys got to take time off."
As far as the Rougeaus, did you guys ever wrestle the Rougeaus?
Nope, never got to wrestle Jock and Raymond. I mean, I've been up to Montreal. I've worked for Jacques. I went on a 10-day tour with him one time, and I loved it. Jacques a good person. He's a straightforward person.
How were the crowds for that tour? I think I heard about that. That was in the early 90s or so.
Yeah, it was good crowds. The crowds are good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed work. We actually worked at the old we used to for WWF wrestle the Montreal, the place where the Canadians played, and we had a nice crowd that night. I mean, I was like, wow, we're just independents in this kind of crowd. It was really nice.
Did you ever work the Hart Foundation?
Yeah, we worked Jimmy and Brett several times. Very good matches. Brett is one of the guys that if you couldn't work with Brett, you didn't deserve to be in the business. Brett was incredible. Jimmy was tough, but that's why he was the Anvil, and that was his gimmick. You never knew what you were going to get from Jimmy. He would come 100 miles. He was like an Anvil. He really was.
I've heard Jim didn't work out much, but he was incredibly strong, and he would do strange workouts like only 1 or 2 reps and then leave the gym. Is that true?
Yeah. One time Jimmy come in, he says, Terry, I'm gonna get a quick workout. Okay, Jimmy. So he comes in and he puts like 135, 2. It goes right to 405. Does it for a couple, says, okay, I'm good. I'm like, what? That was his workout. He goes, pulls his beard like he always did. I'm good. It was so funny. Jimmy was just he was off the wall. Jimmy was, man, but he was another guy had a big heart. Big heart.
Were you ever in there with Andre the Giant?
Andre, I forget what year it was. It was not a Royal Rumble. Maybe it was a Royal Rumble. And I was in there. Andre had to throw me out. I've never been thrown so high in my life. I was 320 pounds. He took me, threw me over the top rope. I couldn't even grab the top rope. I do a flip in the air, and back then, of course, you were on the ground. We didn't have mats like they do now. I had to land on the goddamn concrete. Thank God I was able to land partly on my feet. I would have been dead otherwise. He literally took me and threw me some goddamn high because he was so big. I was like, wow, man, it was incredible, just his strength.
Did he treat you well behind the scenes?
Yeah, I got along great with Andre. Andre liked me because I ate all the time. He goes, boss, I like you. You eat all the time. You big, you eat. Andre's the kind of guy that if he liked you, he loved you. If he didn't, run. Just run.
Did you ever get the chance to eat with him?
No, never got the chance, but I was there many times where he'd get there early and he'd be playing those cards and have bottles of wine. Bottles, and just drinking that wine. He loved his wine.
Was alcohol backstage in those days pretty much just accepted if he wanted to drink it, or could anyone like have a beer after their match or whatever in the dressing room?
guys really didn't drink beers afterwards. There was really no alcohol back there. The only alcohol there was is having Andre with his wine. That was it.
Now, when they split you guys up in WWE, was that because the Road Warriors were coming in, or was it just no reason? They just wanted to split you up?
I really don't know because they never told us, but I'm pretty sure it was because the Road Warriors are coming in. I'm pretty sure of that.
Were you disappointed about that, or were you kind of happy for the opportunity to have a different gimmick?
Listen, I love working with Barb. Barb's an incredible athlete. He's a lot of fun to work with and that stuff, but it was also good to start get on and kind of learn the singles, how to work the singles again too and that stuff. It was kind of different at first because we've been doing tag for so long. It took a little while to get into it again, but it was nice. I mean, listen, I'm lucky enough that I can work both of them real well, and I'm very happy for that.
Were you still traveling with him on the road if you were on the same tour as him? I know there was sometimes 3 different towns a night in those days.
Not really. Barb would usually be in a different town than I would all the time.
Okay. What did you think of the outfit they got you? The very futuristic, the W staff, and the black chest protector and so forth.
Oh, I thought the outfit was great. It was very different, like you say, very futuristic. At first, they had me in that black mask, which I really didn't like because it didn't fit good. It was kind of really like weird on me. And then they came up with the idea, well, we're going to send you up to Upper New York. It's a place that does outfits for shows and that stuff, And I had to go sit there. They put plaster Paris on my face, and I had to sit there for 3 hours breathing out of a straw so it could form mold to my face. I was just made right to my face. That was. And so it looked really good then. Then it looked really good.
And what did you think about having Slick as a manager?
Slick was good. I mean, I wasn't a great talker at that time yet. So, if you weren't a great talker, you really need a manager to help you out a little bit and that stuff, I've learned a lot through the years how to talk real good now, but, at that time, I really wasn't great at talking. And Slick was a good guy. He was always trying to put you over, not him put you over.
I understand he's brought some of his old clients to his church to appear. Did he ever bring you for any appearances?
No, not yet. You never know what will happen.
Was he a good guy on the road? We've heard some of these religious wrestlers aren't always the most true to the religion, but was Slick one of the genuine ones?
Slick never really talked religion to me. He never did. He was just, when you were there, it was your business. It was wrestling.
$1 Million Man is another guy that's got into religion. You were on his team for Survivor Series, I think, 3 years in a row. How did you like working with him?
$1 Million. He's another one. He's a top 10 wrestler in all-time wrestling. He's a great wrestler, great tacticianer. He could talk. He played his part very well. I mean, listen, for someone like that, it's an honor to work with him. And especially being on their team, and that was just a very great, unique team. That whole thing was very unique.
Now, there's a big scandal involving Ted now. Have you followed that at all?
Up in Mississippi with that money and that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, him and his son? Yeah, it's, whatever, man. Just let it all go. I mean, just let it go. It's not... Everybody wants to bring up something on somebody now. Everybody does now.
Oh yeah, it's getting pretty bad right now.
Yeah, I mean everywhere. They got the cancel culture. They got this, that now. I mean, everybody in this world, we all just got to move on with life.
Yeah. Now, as far as the grand finale match of survival, I think you made it to face the Warrior, Hogan and Tito Santana in Survivor Series 1990. Any memories of that? That was a pretty huge spot on the card for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was I think that was where the 4 of us were the first team not to ever get eliminated, if I remember right. I think I was with Paul, Hercules, and Ricky Martel, if I remember right. I think that was it. And yeah, we like I say, it was just fun being in there with those guys. To be here, the biggest stars in the sport. I think Jimmy Snuka was with them too at the time, maybe, or maybe he's on the. Yeah. I can't remember.
I don't think he made it to the end.
It was Hulk, It was Warrior, and it was one other person.
Tito Santana, I think.
It was so much. It was so much fun. I mean, just to be in a ring with those guys. I mean, it's amazing. It really is.
I think a lot of people believe that you should have had a real feud with Hulk because you were actually bigger than him. Is there any reason why you think they never did that? I know there was some house show matches that drew well.
I have some theories. I did a couple of shows with Hulkster, and places were packed. I mean, people wanted, and for Hogan actually having something bigger and like that and more muscular, I mean, was great. Because Hogan he could sell. I mean, the guy 300 pounds crawling that floor and people just going crazy. I just think there was just a lot of jealousy at that time. That's my theory on it. But it is what it is. You can't go back to it.
How was Hogan to deal with backstage personally for you?
Well, Hogan was good. He never treated anybody different. He treated everybody as one of the boys, just like he was just one of the boys like everybody else. I mean, that was Hulkster. He was a star like Randy, like Warrior. They had their own dressing rooms, which they should. They're the top performers. They should have their own dressing rooms, But he was always very polite, very nice all the time.
I'm gonna guess your matches against Hogan were probably some of your biggest paydays.
Oh yeah, that's why I want to work with Hogan. Yeah, when you work with Hogan, it's cha-ching, cha-ching. You're making some money. Yeah.
As far as Randy, did you ever wrestle him in singles matches?
I never got to wrestle Randy in a singles match. I wish I could have. I've been in Rumbles. I've been in all those things with him. And I've never got to wrestle him single. I mean, Randy's another one, top 10 wrestler of all time. I would have loved to work with Randy.
How was he in the gym? I'm sure you'd encounter him from time to time in there.
I never really saw Randy in the gym and that stuff. I didn't see a lot of guys in the gym because we all kind of went all of our different times, but I know I can imagine him working out. I'm sure he's probably just as intense working out as he was when he was in the ring.
And for Elizabeth, we've all heard the stories that he was very protective of her backstage. Did you ever witness anything like that? And can you blame him for being around the boys, I guess?
Randy understood. I mean, he should be protective. It's his wife. He should be protective. And the guys respected that. They really did. She had her own dressing room, and that stuff, and all the guys understood. And they respected it.
And you mentioned the Ultimate Warrior. Did you get along okay with him backstage?
I love Jimmy. A lot of guys didn't like Jim. I love Jim. Jim was Jim. He wasn't going out to hurt anybody or do anything bad towards anybody. He was, he came into a position where he was able to be a top dog and make a lot of money. And a lot of guys were just jealous. I mean, he was a gimmick. Jimmy didn't have to be a great wrestler. He was a gimmick. He would come to the ring 100 miles an hour, get in that ring, shake those ropes like a madman, come out just like boom, 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 done, shake those ropes and gone. Run 100 miles an hour out. I mean, that was Jim.
What's an example you could tell us about the side of him that doesn't get told very often because we always hear the negative stuff?
Well, for me, it was one time we were overseas in Europe. I remember, I think it was 1993. We had to go to Europe with Hercules. I mean, some really good names, a lot of big names, and every show was sold out. I mean, you're talking these were places, 15,000 people sold out every single night. We had like 10 days over there, and the promoters that took us over there trying to screw us on the money, trying to hold us up. We want our money. Yeah. So finally, I got pissed off, and I took one of them, I put him against the wall. I was ready to choke the guy out, and I said, you know what? I said, I know you're hiding the money somewhere. So you know what? I don't want you. We don't want to work with you anymore. I said, I'm going to talk to the promoter, the German promoters over here, because they had such a great setup. I mean, it was like a WWF setup with the sounds. I mean, it was incredible. So I wanted to talk to them. I said, listen, guys. I said, this is what Jimmy and me want to do and that stuff. This is what you guys got to pay us. Take care of the rest of the money for it. Make sure everybody gets paid. You can keep all the merchandise sales. You can keep all the gate. You can keep all that stuff. It's all yours. We just want this amount of money, but we need to have it. Next day we came, Jim and me, and Jimmy stood up for it. Jimmy stood up for all the guys. And he's the only one that could on that tour. I mean, if he didn't wrestle, that tour was done. It was done. And he stood up for everybody. And Jimmy were walking around with $200,000 of cash in a briefcase. And before we go, we'd put in a special safety box all the time. We wouldn't give the guys ahead of time because we were afraid we'd give some of the guys ahead of time. They would just take off. Right. They would come to the States. You know how that goes. And the last day, man, we made sure everybody got paid. Every single penny they made, they earned, they got. Jimmy was a stand-up guy. He would stand up for the boys.
Did you ever train with him?
Never got to train with Jimmy. I trained in the gym with Jimmy many times. Not so much in WWE, but on that tour. Jimmy and me went and trained every single day. And, Jimmy's an intense workout person. He's intense.
What did you think about the unusual way that he died? Like he just made amends with WWE, appeared for them a couple of times, then literally passed away the night of his last appearance.
I got a theory on that, and it's my feeling. Jimmy was 54 years old. He hadn't been in the limelight in a long time. He stayed low for a long time living in New Mexico. When you get used to that kind of lifestyle, your heart rate, everything else is, you're very relaxed. Everything else, you don't get that adrenaline anymore. Like in wrestling and sports, football, and you get that big adrenaline. You don't have that anymore, so you don't have all that stress on your heart. I think when he got honored with that Hall of Fame, he went to the Hall of Fame, and I just feel with the Hall of Fame and then being on national TV again, I feel that adrenaline rush was so much that when he flew home on that plane, his heart couldn't come down from it. You just have, when you haven't been around for a long time, it'd be just like me, someone day W said, we want you to come out and do a show in front of a huge crowd. It's like your heart's going to go 100 miles an hour. You haven't done it in a long time. And I just have a feeling that Jimmy's heart just could not come down. That adrenaline was so bad, his heart couldn't stop it. It gave out. That's my feeling.
And Hercules was another guy that unfortunately passed away young. I think he was only in his 40s. Any memories of working with him over the years?
I worked with Herc sometime. Herc was another very, very good worker. Big guy, good worker. Another guy that had a big, big heart. He just, like many guys, just had a drug problem. Before he died, he was basically homeless. Everything else in Tampa at that time. He was another one, like I said, he went on that tour with us to Europe, that big tour of Warrior and all that stuff. And funny for him is that on the way there, he took some pills, drank, and on the flight, he went ahead, and the lady sitting next to me grabbed her like in a headlock because he didn't know where he was at. And the lady pulled ahead. She ran away. Well, they had to he kind of passed out after that. The pilot came out to talk to him. He grabbed the pilot in a headlock. So now he scrambled to get away. He ran to his thing and locked it. That police passed out. So we landed in it wasn't Berlin, Munich, Germany. We flew into. We landed there. They said, "Everybody, please stay in your seat. We have somebody has come on board." In come all these police, like SWAT unit. You got about 10 of them. They're looking there, going right to Hercules. He's passed out yet, and he just wakes up and he gets up to get his bag, and he turns around. They're all sitting with the guns pointing. And go, whoa, And they took him off the plane, gave a private escort off the plane. And I'm thinking, he's in trouble. No, he was on the bus before we ever got on the bus. We came out, the guy didn't get on the bus. Hercules was already there for a while. They didn't want to deal with it. They just put him on the goddamn bus and said, just don't get in trouble.
Wow.
That's what yeah.
He wouldn't have been so lucky nowadays.
If you did anything like that, Vince, you're gone. You say a boo. You say a wrong word now. You're gone now.
Wow. Now, Paul Roma, he was also in Power and Glory with Hercules. You were part of that stable for a while with Slick. Any memories of him?
Paul was a good person too. A lot of people, Paul had a little bit of an ego, but he could also back it up. Paul could back it up. Paul was, he's another one that was a very, very underrated wrestler. He was a good wrestler, and he was a good athlete. Here you got a guy his size. I've never seen a guy with so many veins in his body in my life. He was just like veins everywhere. He was just, and he would eat pizza every night. I'm like, how do you get all the veins eating pizza every night? I was just amazed, but once again, like I say, he was a great worker. I mean, I had matches with him. He would run up to the top rope, turn himself on the top rope, and come up to hit you, come up the other, climb right up to the other top rope. I mean, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. Guy's a great athlete.
You had an impressive feud with Kerry Von Erich right before he died, actually. Any memories of that?
Yeah, Kerry's another guy. People love this guy. He was a god to a lot of people. I mean, he was just he was another guy that was a sweetheart. He just had a bad drug addiction problem, you know, and it was sad, you know, because the guy had so much going for him. I'll tell you a story real quick. I was in St. Louis, Busch Stadium, where they play baseball. 45,000 people, so I mean, just packed. And that night I asked if I could go first match because I could get home that night on a flight from St. Louis to Minneapolis, and I could actually get an extra night at home to rest a little bit. No problem, we'll lay it. So I'm talking to Kerry about an hour beforehand, blah, 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 blah. Okay, man, you know, cool. 10 minutes before the match, I go to talk to him. I was like, Kerry, oh, you gotta be kidding me. What did you do, Kerry? You took a bunch of Placidos. So now I got to go to the ring, wrestle a match with him, trying to get him through this match. And you know how he threw that discus punch?
Yeah.
That was his, but he's supposed to hit me with it, where I go outside the goddamn ring on the ground and that stuff, and I end up getting counted out. When he went to throw that punch, he tripped over his own feet, and he went through the ropes on the ground by himself. I'm like, oh my God, look at the referee now. I'll take care of it. Just count, you know. I'll get him in before the 10 count. I go out there, I grab him, he was just out of it. I said, Kerry, I'm just going to give him a boom, and at the end, I'm going to do something where I'm at. Just boom, I'm going to roll you in quick. Boom, boom, boom. I did something. I missed. I kind of give him a nudge and get him in the roll him in. So he got, right before the 10 count, he got his hand raised. I mean, you know, Kerry was a sweetheart. And the week he died, he was actually with Davey Boy, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, me. We were on a West Coast tour for Army bases. 14 days sold out every Army base up and down the whole West Coast. And, you know, Kerry was doing pretty good on that tour. And one night in LA, we had a night off. He went out, found some stuff. 3 a.m, I hit it, bang, bang, bang. I go look. He kicked open his door in his room because he lost his key. And so he didn't want to do it. So he kicked it open and he just passed out in the bed, you know. And then after that tour was done, I get a call like 5 days after saying that Kerry shot himself. I'm like, what? I said, yeah, Kerry shot himself with a .357 Magnum. Like, you got to be kidding. He was just with me right before that. You know, it was just sad. It's sad.
Was it true that people didn't know that he had a missing foot, or was that something that you were aware of when you were having your matches with him?
Yeah, most of the boys, we all knew he had that, you know, and he was another one that adjusted his own jerk because he was embarrassed. Kerry was the kind of person who was embarrassed of how it happened. So he was very embarrassed to be around the boys and have to show them that because of stupidity, that's what happened. You know, but, you know, there again, you got another guy that shows you his athleticism, how good he was. That most people, you wouldn't even know it. You could tell just a little bit, but if you didn't understand, know it, you wouldn't even be able to tell.
Jake Roberts is another guy that's had his demons here and there who you've wrestled. Was he pretty much together for your matches with him?
Yeah, Jake in the ring, Jake was a technician. Jake was one of the guys, he's probably one of the best minds in the business. He's incredible. I mean, he comes up with things, just his mindset is, he could have been a booker someplace that made it incredible if it weren't for, you know, what he was doing at the time, you know. He could have been a booker, no problem, anywhere at that time. The only problem is with Jake, you didn't know whether you're getting the real Jake or the kayfabe Jake. There's a very thin line between the two of them. Very thin line. But once again, you got another guy that was just a great technician in that ring.
And the British Bulldog is probably your best remembered singles feud that you had in WWE. What are your thoughts on that? I heard you guys were friends.
Oh, Davey, I love Davey. You know, it's funny because when I met his son some years ago, first thing he asked me is, he said, my dad loved you. He says, tell me about my dad, you know, because, you know, didn't really get to know Davey. I was around Davey for so many years on the road, you know. Davey was a guy. If Davey got on your nerve, if you got on Davey's nerves, Davey was going to rip you. And that was Davey. If you got on his nerves, he's going to get you back somehow. He didn't care. But once again, you had a guy that the way he looked, I mean, he could do just about anything in that ring and work with anybody. Davey was good. I mean, he'd been wrestling since he was 16 years old. The guy was he was an athlete, and he was good. I mean, we would go train at the gym together and just tear the gym up, you know. I mean, he was a good person. Good person.
I remember a house show that you did here in Ottawa, Canada, just before WrestleMania 7, where you had an arm wrestling match against him. That was a great entertaining segment too. I really enjoyed it. Was that something that you guys did on all the house shows leading up to WrestleMania 7?
Yeah, we did a lot of that all the way up and that stuff, and the people loved it. I mean, I would work it, man. Just get out there. You get out there, you start complaining and that stuff, get up on the ropes, come back down, you get to the table, you look at the table, you complain about the table, you know, go back, I'm going to rip Davey apart, I'm going to break him like Hogan always did, you know, and then you get back, and you sit down like this, when he puts his arm down, you pull your arm back, you know, you walk again, Davey's going, you know, Davey will talk, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, finally you get up there, you finally lock up, you know, and as a boom, break at the last second again and that stuff, you know, and you build up to that finally time you do it, you know, and then when you finally do it, you know, boom, I got him. Boom, 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 boom. And finally break it, throw the table on him, put the table across, put him through the goddamn table. You know, I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was funny because we're in Madison Square Garden doing it, and they get that big screen up above. And we're doing the thing like this. And I said, Davey, my arms are a lot bigger than yours. No, they're not. My biceps are bigger than yours. No, they're not, Davey. Look up at the screen. My arms are a lot bigger than yours. We'd have fun doing it, you know, at the same time, you know, wrestling is about enjoying yourself out there. The more you enjoy it, the better you're going to do.
Now, Harry Smith, Davey's son, wrestles for our company up here in Canada. He wanted me to ask you if you have any memories of, he said you, Davey, and Harry would eat at Denny's together sometimes, and also your wife taught him how to plant a lemon tree or something. Do you have any recollection of those days? You
know, it's been a long time, you know, and Harry was so young at that time, you know, and I'm so proud of how Harry's grown up. I mean, like I say, Harry, besides wrestling, he could be a UFC fighter. The guy's good. He's good. I mean, he's legit. You know, he's legit. You know, I wish if I was younger, you know, that I could have wrestled Harry at some time, and that would have been a lot of fun, especially work with his dad and work with Harry and that stuff, you know. That would have been so much fun. So much fun. Harry's a good person, good kid.
Maybe that's a match you could have up here if they ever had the lockdown.
Yeah. I don't know if they ever like these lockdowns. I don't know about these lockdown things.
The border, they're saying now it might be closed for the remainder of the year. So let's hope that's not the case.
It's crazy right now. It really is.
And for the last thing about Harry, what do you think that he's not really in a major company right now, and he's probably the best technical wrestler out there today, but it seems for whatever reason AEW doesn't sign him. Maybe he's too big. They seem to like small wrestlers there, and for whatever reason WWE doesn't have him on their roster.
I don't know. I've never understood that, because Harry should be somewhere. Some of the leagues, he should be at AEW or WWE. He should definitely be there. I mean, there's no reason in WWE they couldn't come up with a nice gimmick for Harry. I don't understand that. So the guy can wrestle. Same as AEW, the guy can wrestle, you know. Maybe it's just jealousy because he's Davey Boy's son or something. I don't know. I don't think it's right. Harry's good, man. They're missing out on this guy. They're missing out.
Now, as far as Pat Patterson, how is he to deal with in the back? I doubt he ever had any issues with you, but we've heard the various rumors over the years.
No, Pat was very good to Barb and me. We got along great. Pat was always straightforward and everything. Always.
Was he one of your favorite agents to work with?
Pat was just, Pat was straight up. I liked working with a lot of guys did, but I actually liked working with Chief. Chief was good. Chief and me got along good. Also, Jack Lanza, he was a Minnesota person. So we got along really good in that stuff. You know, I mean, you know, I got along with all the agents, you know, Tony, Rene Goulet, all those guys. They were all, you know, they were just straightforward. You come every night and you do your job. You work hard, you do your job.
And when they put you with Harvey Whippleman, you worked with Sid a little bit. Any memories of Sid?
Sid was a big guy. I mean, you know, he'd come in, I mean, you know, 6'9" tall. You know, he had the big traps, everything else and that stuff, you know. I mean, you know, and he had a perfect look for being that kind of person. I mean, you know, I got along great with Sid too. You know, a lot of guys didn't get along with Sid, but I got along with him good.
It seems Sid had the issue too. A lot of people were jealous of the push that he got right away.
Well, you know, it's like anything. You know, it's just the way it works. You know, I mean, he had the look. He was 6'9" tall. He had that look. You know, he could do the things they wanted him to do at the time. So,
do you think if he hadn't jumped around to WCW and back so many times, he could have been a bigger star?
Oh yeah, yeah. You know, but he probably got some good pay out of WCW, I'm sure. They were giving some big contracts back then.
And we had some fans that wanted me to ask you if you had any favorite memories, both of Maple Leaf Gardens and the Montreal Forum.
Maple Leaf Gardens was always a lot of fun to wrestle in and that stuff, you know. Just a big open place. And we always did. It seemed like every year we always are. One of the big shows we always have was on Box Day, your guys' day after Christmas. You know, always at Toronto in the afternoon. And there's this one guy. I swear, there'd be 20-some thousand people there, packed. I'd be in the ring working, and there's always this one guy. I wish I could have found him. I probably would have choked him out. He would loud his voice. He had one of those voices just echoed. It goes, "Hey, Gaylord." I'm like, Gaylord? What are you talking about? Gaylord. You gotta be kidding me. And it just echoed it. It just drove me. I wanted to kill him. I stopped at a match. I want to kill this guy. I want to find him and kill him. I couldn't believe it. Call me Gaylord. Really? And then, and Quebec, I enjoyed going to Quebec and that stuff. Quebec, the people are always nice. Very good wrestling fans, of course, because the Rougeaus and of course Dino Bravo back then, all the big names coming through there and that stuff. You know, it was just a great wrestling place, great wrestling territory.
Were you surprised about Dino Bravo's passing, the way that he was basically executed?
Yeah, in fact, I watched that on Vice, the Dark Side of the Rings. I watched all because I got nothing else to do right now. So I've watched all those, and of course I watched on Dino because I knew a lot of it. I want to see more details on it, and it was pretty much all the details I knew on it. To me, I still think it has something to do with the mafia hired some people to come in and do it, because obviously like they said, his door was open. If his door was open, you obviously knew him. He obviously knew who the people were. So it was a whole setup on him and that stuff. Dino was, like I say, he was a big man. Dino's a big guy, and good wrestler for what he did in that stuff. And just unfortunately, he let go, and he had that big house and a lot of payments, and he got involved in something that we all know is a bad thing. And usually, there's no way out of it unless they kill you. It's sad. It's sad. It's a terrible way to go. Terrible.
What did you think about the big steroid trial that Vince McMahon had in the early 90s? And do you think that trial had anything to do with why they released you? Because it seemed they got rid of all the bodybuilders around that time.
Actually, I just left it right before then. As I was the second one on the stand in that. And as I told them, Vince never forced us to do it, okay? But of course, he liked if you did it because you're monsters. You made them money. People want to see monsters. They want to see people that can move around and are strong as oxes. We were cartoon characters, literally real-life cartoon characters. And, of course, Vince loved that. he never forced anybody to take it. You don't have a job unless you did it. I never saw him once do that, you know. But at the same time, I also knew that we were doing testing, and I knew there's certain guys that were getting by. He was letting them slide, and that wasn't fair. You know, it's like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it to everybody. Otherwise, don't do it at all. It's not fair to the other guys.
It seems like it's still that way today, even.
Yeah, this won't change in that. He's got his guys that, to this day, you could tell it out there. I mean, you know, I love Bobby Lashley. If you're telling me Bobby Lashley isn't taking something, I've done it, so I know. You know, you don't look a specimen like Bobby Lashley. He's a specimen out there. He's so much bigger than everybody else. Same as Brock. Brock too. And Brock's already been caught in UFC. You know that he tested positive, so that's already a known already. You know, so I mean, but it's Vince's place. Vince can do whatever he wants.
Yeah,
it's his territory.
For that Dr. Zahorian guy, did you get your stuff through him at that time too, or you had your own people?
No, thank God. Dr. Zahorian was a quack. I didn't like him. You come to Pennsylvania. He was a doctor of all of our things in Pennsylvania. He'd come in, he'd take your blood pressure. He opened this bag. He says, anything you need today? I'm like, no, I don't want any. No. I just had a bad feeling about Dr. Zahorian. Sometimes you just had that bad feeling. And, and then to find out down the road, he gets popped. And of course, for him, he, rats out everybody. Everybody gives him a list of all the FedExes and all that stuff, and just, I mean, it's not right. If you do something, you do it and take your time for it. It's not right, ran out everybody.
Now, you don't have to answer this, but we have a lot of bodybuilders that watch this channel, and one of the most common questions that people wanted me to ask you was your favorite cycle, but you don't have to be specific if you don't want to.
It's funny. A lot of people thought I took a lot of stuff back then. I didn't take. There was no growth hormone back then. There was no, things like there are now. I just, like I say, I'm a Polish guy. I'm a big Polak. And, anything I touch, I just grew at that time. It didn't matter what it was. I would take just some sip, some Deca, and trying to remember the other one. It's for your, it makes your tendons super strong. But I would usually take those 3, and I would take like maybe 2 shots a week. That's it. And I just got unbelievable results from it. Really good results.
And everyone wanted to know, I'm sure you've got this question before. Kevin Nash told this story about allegedly you asked Shawn Michaels to give you a shot and he said you were full or something. Is that fabrication, or did that actually happen?
I don't remember that anymore. It might have happened. I just don't remember that part, But David Meade took a lot of heat from a lot of people and said, look at you guys. And I'll tell you what, Bret Hart is one of the best people at drawing those caricatures on he'd find chalkboards. He would get there early so he could drive all of our caricatures on the chalkboard. And then, usually it'd always have Davey and me up there all the time. It'd be either Davey or me bent over with a bullseye on her ass. I mean, and they were the funniest things. Bret was so good at that, but, like I say, man, I don't hide nothing. I got nothing to be embarrassed about. I did what I had to do at the time, and that stuff. I gave the people a larger than life person that was a supersized cartoon character.
And you're very healthy. Barb looks great too still. And that's 2 examples of people that did take that and are fine. So do you think it's more in cases like Hercules and some of these other guys that passed early, that they were also doing other stuff like alcohol, painkillers, and uppers and downers?
I always say you can get away with one thing in your life and your body, your heart will stay like that. If you start mixing everything, your heart starts going like that. It starts going up and down. It doesn't know, what's happening. You can't mix all those things and expect your heart to stay normal. It doesn't happen. It's just unfortunate in my business, the way we traveled, the pain the guys were in all the time, everything else. I mean, I saw guys wake up, they're taking stuff to wake them up. They take a shot for their body. They take a bunch of Percocets. They take Coke before a match to get them, pumped up for the ring and that stuff. After the match, you have to take, some sleeping pills to make them sleep at night so they could sleep a little bit. I mean, it is what it was at that time. It's just the way it worked.
And I find it interesting that superstar Billy Graham's a good friend of mine. He's right now only 4 years or so younger than Bruno was when he died. And Superstar is one of the admittedly biggest steroid users of the history of wrestling. So that goes to show you that it doesn't necessarily make your life shorter.
No, it doesn't. If you take care of yourself and that stuff, and like I said, you don't mix all these different things. You can't do that in life. It's like people have cocaine overdoses. You can't just boom and all of a sudden kick in a ton of cocaine. Your heart can't handle that. It can't do it.
Did you ever have much interaction with Billy Graham when you first came to WWE? Because I don't think you would have crossed paths that much.
No, I don't think Billy was there at the time. I think Billy was gone right before then. I know Jesse was there. He was one of the commentators for us, so I know that.
And your last match in WWE was against Virgil, who many people don't like for whatever reason. How did you get along with him?
I got along with Virgil. Pretty much I'm telling you, I got along with everybody because I just did my own thing. I didn't want to get into people's personal lives. I didn't want to get anything else, When you're there, it was all business. And, if you knew they had a family, say, how's your family, all this stuff, And I just kept it at that, The bad blood when you're on the road is a bad thing. It's just a bad thing because it builds up. You don't need it.
And you mentioned that you watched the Dark Side of the Ring episodes. There was one, of course, on Herb Abrams in the UWF that you were a part of. Do you have any stories about the UWF you could share with us?
Pretty much in that show, they said the stories on Herb was. And Herb was a different kind of person. I mean, little Jewish guy. I don't know how he got his money. I don't have a clue. I have no clue. He had money, but he was a con artist. He could talk people into anything and out of everything. That was Herb.
How was the organization of the events themselves compared to other shows like other indie companies you'd work for?
Disorganized. It was very disorganized because Herb was trying to do it all. Herb, like I said, Herb had a good heart. He was trying, but he really didn't have a clue how it all worked. He really didn't. He should have put one of the boys that had been in for a long time, put them in charge and let them do it.
How many shows did you actually work for them? Was it just a handful, or were you on pretty much all of them?
No, I think it was like about 3 total. That was it. And of course, I worked in that big Vegas one.
Oh, what was your reaction when you walked out and there's like 600 people in a 20,000 person building?
Just about what you're laughing about right now. I mean, I got there. I'm thinking, they're telling, oh yeah, we got to do something. God, we get out there. We're sitting at the MGM. Well, this is unbelievable. It's like, we're going to wrestle here. We got good names. I mean, people actually knew we were there. We probably had a very good crowd. It was actually, worked and that stuff. They got out, did their job and that stuff. And we go in there. It's like, I'm looking around. I said, where's all the people? I was like, my God, there's like nobody here. This is embarrassing. You're going and there's absolutely nobody. Just, I don't know, man. Just, I've been on a couple of those type shows. Man. It's just like, wow, you're talking all this. We have all these people, and then no one's there.
Yeah, but as you said, it could have done better considering Bruno Sammartino, Andre the Giant, you, Sid, Danny Spivey, Brian Blair, so many top names, Steve Williams, but just poor promotion. And if the guy wasn't in his hotel room doing coke all day, if he'd actually promoted, you may have had something there.
Just like I say, Herb, I just really don't think he really had a clue on how it actually worked behind the scenes. It's a whole different world when you try to promote. That's very different. Very different. And like I say, if you would have put one of the boys in charge that was been around the business for a long time and put them as doing it and get it going, it would have been much different. It would have been much better.
And you already spoke about being over in Germany, but I understand you feuded with Butch Reed over there. I've interviewed him. How was he to work with?
Butch was great. It was an honor working with Butch over there. He was before my time too, and to actually go over and work with Butch. And like I say, we had all those shows in Germany. They were slam packed. I'm sure Butch said the same thing. They were packed. They were good. They were good.
Now, a fan wanted me to ask you this. I didn't hear the podcast, but I understand you did an interview with Sean Mooney, and he asked you something about if you think that you and Barbarian could still have a run in WWE today. And I guess he kind of was insulting about it. Do you have any recollection of that?
No, I don't. I really don't remember that and that stuff, And whether somebody is, I mean, that's their opinion. I know Barb's still in great shape. If you look at us and we don't look like we've aged that much for our age and stuff, And we can. We're a step slower. I admit that we are. We can still go out there and put on a show, and that's with anybody.
And if it was a shoot, I legitimately believe that you and Barbarian could be any of today's tag teams.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have no question about that whatsoever. And give us Haku, too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that would just be frightening. You could beat an entire company with that team. Speaking of which, Barbarian told us the story that you had witnessed the night that Haku bit somebody's nose off in the bar. Could you tell us that story?
Yeah. It was actually in Baltimore. It was at the Sephora Club. We were staying at the Holiday Inn, got done doing the show, got back to Holiday Inn, and we said, we're going to go out. So we go to the Sephora Club. That's where everybody went. It was always this club just across the highway, just jam-packed all the time. So that's where all the wrestlers go. So we go there. And I was walking around, and Tonga Kid was there, and a few other guys. And as I walked around, I see Haku there. He's drinking a beer, just kind of looking. So I go up to him. I said, Haku, how you doing? So, good, brother. I'm doing good. So I'm just enjoying my beer. So we go on. All of a sudden, I come inside. I'm just walking around outside. Kind of look at him. And you could see he's kind of got this focus on something. I'm like, oh no, I hope not. Also, he just starts going through the crowd. I mean, just starts walking like he's in a measure, staring, Goes down, grabs this guy. I'm looking at him. Just all of a sudden, next thing I know, there's just blood everywhere. Just blood all over the place, And you got to be kidding me. So Tonga Kid and me, we ran over there right away. We all were able to get him back to the hotel at the Holiday Inn. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get Haku up to the room. Let's get him up to the room. I don't want him in the bar here. We were able to get him up in the room. He was like, okay, I'm good, guys. I'm just going to stay here. I'm good. So we go back down. After we go back down, about a minute later, here he comes down to the bar down there. Now he's in the bar down there. Great. I don't want to say anything, near the Tonga Kid. Next thing you know, you got all these cop cars coming to the front of the Holiday Inn, And as they come to the door, we look at the guy, whoa, hold a second. You're looking for Haku. Give it a couple minutes because he'll be relaxed. Right now he'll fight. And he'll go. Okay, Haku will go. If you give him a couple minutes, he'll be no problem, And so it's kind of like, you remember the Blues Brothers when they're in the
yes.
All these cops are around. That's what it was like. All these cops are in the lobby. After a couple minutes, they went up to him, and he turned around and they go, so he put his hands out. He goes, no problem. I mean, it was simple. You just need to diffuse the situation a little bit, That's all it was. I mean, Haku was, him and Barb, I think, were two of the toughest individuals I've ever known. Both of them.
Did you ever see any incident like that with Barb, or were things pretty calm with him overall?
Actually, I know Barb had one I wasn't there. Barb told me about it. It was in L.A. He was shooting that movie with him and Tijo Khan. The one he was in with Roddy Piper and those guys back then.
Oh, Body Slam.
Yeah. And he was at the club and something happened. He got mad, so he broke a beer bottle over his head. He went down, and they called the cops. Well, they tried to grab him, Barb. They're trying to mace him. Mace ain't doing nothing to him, nothing else, So they're all trying to tackle him. He's throwing him off. Fine. Took I guess a whole bunch of them to tackle him down. And they were pissed, and the main guy comes, whoa, I know who he is from wrestling and that stuff, Well, they didn't put him in the jail that night. They brought him back to his room. So they put him in the room, and the way, Barb to Teddy. He goes, they took me back to the room. I went, my shirt torn, blood, everything else, and I pass out, just exhausted. He said somebody stooged to his wife in Charlotte. Well, she caught the next flight from Charlotte to L.A. He said, "Oh, Teddy," I wake up the next morning, I look around, "Oh, Teddy, my wife's standing there, high heel in her hand." She cracked me in the head. He said, "I crawled to the door. She pulled me away from her because she locked all the locks, so I couldn't get out." He said, "Pull me." I tried crawling to the door. She kicked me. She was so mad at him for doing that. He said he finally got out. He said, "Honey, please, 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 I'm done. I'm done." I mean, just, the only person in this whole world Barb was afraid of is his wife. That's the only person Barb's afraid of. And same as Haku. The only person Haku's afraid of is his wife. Everybody else they could demolish. They are terrified of their wives.
Now, as far as this WCW run that you had, it's kind of mind-boggling that they wasted you guys like that. Barb told us that you owned the rights to the Powers of Pain name, but for some reason they wanted to bring you in as the Super Assassins. How did they explain that to you?
I really never understood it. And the problem is, how is it going to work when our size, everybody knows who we were. We go to the ring, everybody be yelling, "Warlord, Barbarian." Everybody knew. You can't hide the size. You just can't hide that. And when we work, you can't hide that. There's no hiding that. And it just, I don't know. It is what it is, too. That's what I say.
Were you under contract when they brought you in?
No, I was just under a nightly contract at that time.
How did you like working with Robert Fuller?
He was good. Robert Fuller was good. He wasn't really much of a talker to us and that stuff, but, he'd been around the business for a long time. Very good at what he did.
Now, Barb's told us that he felt really bad that they ended up signing him on and letting you go. But you said it was okay, I guess. So are you surprised they didn't keep you on as a singles with all the shitty wrestlers that they had at that time?
Listen, I would have loved to work for them at that time. They were a good organization at that time, but then again, I can't get into their minds what they're thinking at the time.
As far as WWE around the Attitude Era, do you think they didn't bring you back around then because you looked very similar to Steve Austin, but a more jacked version?
It's funny. I actually, I think it was 95. I was over in South Africa with a whole bunch of guys. I mean, the Steiner brothers, Kevin Nash, all kinds of big names. And once again, there's another place, huge names. We're going to cricket stadiums. You know how big cricket stadiums are. And there's hardly anybody there because no one knew we were even there. Nobody. I mean, it's like, you got to be kidding me. You got these huge, great names all can work. And no, they don't put out there, they don't put out there enough to let people know you're there. I mean, it was, you've got 50,000 seat places. You got maybe a couple thousand people. I mean, it was embarrassing, But I don't know, man. It's tough.
And you worked over in Japan with War. Chris Jericho mentioned you in his book that you guys were traveling together at that time. Any memories of that?
I love being with Chris over there. We had fun. That's when Chris was Lionheart, and he was just up and coming at that time. He was actually not even in ECW at that time. He was in still up in Canada at Stu Hart's place up there. And one time he wanted to quit wrestling because he didn't think he could go any further. And I just looked and said, "Chris, you're good. It takes time. It just takes a little bit of time. You got the moves, you got the look. Everything else, someone's going to pick you up. It's going to happen, But when we'd be over there, I'd take them all the places to eat. We actually got kicked out of places because we would eat so much food that's like, "Oh no, you come here no more. You eat too much. You like sumo. You eat too much, because we go to all you can eat shabu shabu, which is they bring out plates of beef and with boiling hot water. You put it in that water within a couple seconds, it's done. You put it on top of your rice. You eat the beef and then you eat the rice when it's soaked with that beef afterwards, And it was so good. And it was all you could eat places. You only had to pay a certain amount of money. You get as much beef. We'd have like 20 plates between Chris and me. That beef. And they said, oh, no, no more, no more. Then next day we go to yakiniku, which is the little burners. And you put your meat on there, you put your chicken on there, and you get as much as you can. Well, we eat so much here. They get mad at us because we eat so much, But, like I said, I had a lot of fun with Chris. One time we came back, and we had like a 9-10 hour layover in Detroit for where I was going, where he was going. So I said, Chris, we're going to have a little bit of fun. I said, I'm going to rent a car. I said, we're going to go eat. After we go eat, I'm going to take you to the gym here in Detroit. I know a really good gym over here. I used to train all the time. We're going to get a good train. Then after that, we're going to take a good shower. We're going to catch another meal before we catch our flight going home tonight. I said, that's what you're going to do. If you make it someday, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. Just like that, And he did. He did. After that, he took off. He took off to ECW, then WCW, and then WWE at the time. He took off like crazy. And now he's AEW, one of the heads of AEW.
Have you seen any of his work in AEW?
No, I really don't watch it that much these days. It's just changed so much. Chris, no matter what's a great performer. Chris is good at what he does, always.
What do you think about there being so many small wrestlers today? It seems like there's a disproportionate amount of wrestlers that are actually average size and below average person size now.
Yeah, the business has changed a lot. The problem that they're doing, they're all trying to outdo each other. The moves now, everybody trying to do a bigger, just crazier move than somebody else. And the thing is, when you do those kind of moves and you land on somebody, how does somebody else really get up out of that? That should be, if you're doing that crazy, it should be a finisher right there. How many times can you do all that stuff in a ring and still keep getting up? It's crazy. You got to bring some kind of realism to a sport that is entertainment. You have to do that because that's what the people want. It's crazy in that stuff. It really is.
The Undertaker recently announced he's retired. Do you think this is a legit retirement? And do you have any memories of The Undertaker yourself?
Undertaker will never retire. Mark, he's tough as nails. He might be hunched over when he walks, everything else. Once he steps through that curtain, he's Undertaker. I don't see Mark retiring and that stuff. He's the best gimmick, I think, maybe ever of wrestling, The Undertaker. I really do. When he came out in 1990 and I saw it, my mouth just fell. I said, wow, that is the coolest gimmick that I've seen. And it just fit him so perfect the way he did it with Paul Bearer. It was incredible. Like I said, I can't see Mark really retiring. Even if he just comes for WrestleMania every single year, even if it's just that, the people love the guy. They love him. He's a god in the sport. He really is.
How was he backstage in those days? I guess he would have been a rookie at the time you were back there with him.
Mark was good. He was never into the drugs and that. He would go out to the clubs, all the strip clubs, whatever we went to all the time, He'd be out there all the time, But he never got caught up in that bad things. None of the bad stuff. Never.
Did you ever go out with Ric Flair?
Oh, yeah. I was in NWA for 2 years with Rick, and I was in WWF, I think another 2 years when Rick came in. He was there, too. He was a lot crazier in the NWA than he was in WWF. He was crazy in the NWA. He had some parties that, wow, they were fun. They were fun.
Crazy as in if the cops knew about it, there would be charges pressed.
Well, when you got naked people run up and down the hallways everywhere, everything else all over the place. It was crazy. It wasn't no drugs, nothing like that. It was just crazy.
Do you think with all this speaking out stuff, like what percentage of wrestlers from your day would actually be able to keep jobs in today's world of wrestling with how politically correct everything is?
Hardly any. We all, listen, every one of us carries ghosts in our closet back then. Every one of us. But it just, when you're in a sport and you work so hard, we work, they don't travel like we did. They don't do anything like that we did anymore. We traveled so much. Sometimes you'd be on the road, before I even came here, 60 days in a row, they would be on the road. I'd be on the road sometimes 30 days in a row. You need to get away from it. Your mind needs to get away from it. And when you go out, you like the old saying goes, you work hard, but you partied hard too, and you just blow off all that steam. I mean, I could tell you one about Vince in San Antonio. I'm sure you heard about that, the strip club. You want to take everybody's finishing moves that night, you know. I mean, you know, and that was just we had been on the road, and even Vince, he wanted a blow off. He wanted a blow off. You know, it's the way it was. You know, but back then you didn't have all this social media. You didn't have you know, everything, all the stuff they do today and that stuff. You know, so you didn't have to worry about getting in trouble. Today, you do anything, man. It's on camera now. It's on social media. You know, it's Twittered. It's whatever now.
Yeah, I noticed it in. I know you do security. I noticed it in recent years being a bouncer. The moment you throw someone out of a club now, everyone outside starts pointing their camera phones at you. Do you
Yep.
notice that, how tough it is to work those kind of jobs now?
All the time, man. That's what I do. And first thing you do, people do it. Everybody's got their phone out to watch everything now. So I tell the guys, listen, man, you know, you take them out, you got to be careful. Only use the force necessary that you have to. And when we come back, when we do get back to work, everybody, don't chokeholds anymore. No rear chokeholds anymore. In this country, you're going right to jail now. You know, and you know, it's tough now. And don't say anything to anybody that's anything bad, because everything's racist in this country now. That's the big word of the United States: racist. Everything's racist.
What's
You know,
the
it's sad that
worst?
the whole.
Oh, sorry, there was a delay. There was just a delay in the feed. You could finish what you were saying. I didn't realize you were
It's just sad. It's just sad that it comes to that now. You know, because it'd be so nice to see everybody united. That'd be so nice.
Yeah. As far as your years doing security, what was the most dangerous situation you've ever been involved with that you're kind of lucky to have survived?
Probably when I was with 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, bodyguarding him for a while. We're down in Manhattan. Also on the blue, we were driving, and he says, "I want to pull over into this." He was always in a bulletproof truck all the time, and we'd all be behind him and that stuff, you know. And he wanted to pull into this the biggest hip hop building down. Goes everywhere around the whole East Coast. So he just out of the blue, he wanted to show up there and surprise everybody. So he went there. So we're sitting there waiting for him to come on. As we look down, we see all these cars are pulling along the curb because he's on the air right now. You know, got their spinners going, everything else and that stuff, you know. We see this SUV down a little ways. We kind of get out to kind of go take a look. You can see them come out. You can see they got some guns in their hand. So we said, "Oh, man, we got to change everything with Curtis coming out quick, you know, with 50, you know." So we told him when he comes out, we're going to just pull up, jump in, we're gone. We're not going to stay. We're gone quick. So he came in, boom, boom, we're gone. We're going through the tunnel. And I'll tell you what, you don't want to get between us, because the drivers we had, they'll just crush your car. I mean, they didn't let no one get in the way. Boom, they don't care if they mark your car up, whatever, they don't care. We got to the hotel that night. It was out in wasn't Newark, but it was in New Jersey, just on the other side of the river. And we just got to the hotel. We got 50 into the room, out of the room. We were just getting ready to set outside. Also, some gunshots went off in the distance, shooting at us. You could hear it. So we just all got behind the SUV that was, bulletproof. Got behind that and just waited out. They shot, I think there was a total of 15 shots they took. You know, they shot it with handguns, so it was a ways away. So, you know, it's not so accurate with handguns, you know. It would have been rifles, it would have been different. And so after it was all done, we went back inside the hotel at the time. And the police came, and of course the police came that night. And we got 50 after it happened. We got 50 in the truck. They took all of them. We don't even know where they even took them, because they don't even want us to know in case something happened. They don't want even us to know. So next day we all met up because we're going to California the next day to start a music video. And we go ahead, we get to the airport in that next day in JFK to fly over. Next thing you know, here comes up the FBI, here comes the New York police, the state police. We got about 40 cops coming up to us. And there's a guy, we're going to escort to the gate. I'm like, wow. You know, got to the gate, you know, took off, got to California that early that that next morning. And next day I get up, I look on TV and it says capture the bottom, 50 Cent shot at blah 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 blah, that stuff. It just came on that about what happened and all that stuff. But yeah, that was pretty crazy that night.
Any idea who tried to shoot at him?
A couple. Of course, in hip hop, there's always a lot of beef amongst artists. Always. I mean, that's another crazy business. It really is. Ja Rule was just down the street a couple miles, I heard, and he had a beef with Little Kim. That was another one. That's another one that we had a beef in when we were in England. He was getting a whole bunch of awards, and her group tried to sit at our table. Well, he didn't want to screw with our guys. We came in, and boy, they all ran real quick, but he had a beef with two of them. I know Ja Rule was I heard a couple miles down the road from where we were that night. Wow. So that's my feeling.
And you also work security for Kimbo Slice. How was that?
Kimbo was great. Kimbo is a great family man. He was so good with his family, and he probably had the hardest punch I've ever seen on a human. I literally, when we were in Newark, his very first fight on TV, national TV, I was in their side door. I could hear him popping that bag like it was right in my face. I mean, he just had one of those punches that it was devastating. He was another one that he just didn't know he had a heart issue. He didn't know he had an underlying heart issue.
So why would he need security? Was that because of his hip hop underground connection?
No, not really. Just when he go out, they just wanted security for him around him and that stuff. They didn't want him to have any problems where he had to actually defend himself and all that stuff. They didn't want that.
Okay.
We were at a place one night and some people tried to come in, and we had to kind of take care of them real quick and that stuff, because they were trying to start something with them, And people do that always. People do that.
If you remember bouncing at the Stein in Cedar Falls.
What is that?
If you remember bouncing at the Stein in Cedar Falls.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, that was a rough place. That was a rough place. College bars. Oh yeah, that was like, it was what we called the hill. All these bars were on the hill. We were at the very bottom of the hill. So like all the crap came rolling down. And it was just a rough bar, and when the wrestling season would end and all the wrestlers would be done and they would go ahead and they'd have to watch their weights for all that time, they would come in there and they would always start something, always, because they want to blow off of the season from everything going on. They didn't have to diet anymore now. They got to get away from dieting for a while. And it was crazy. It was.
Now, I don't know who these guys are, but I had a few fans wanted me to ask you about Big Lenny and Andrew Kalura. Do you know who they are?
Who was that again?
Big Lenny and Andrew Kalura.
I can't remember the names offhand.
They said you bounced with them at Club Atomic or something.
I might have. I don't remember anymore. I just don't remember.
What was your lowest body fat percentage? Another fan wanted to know.
I never really took my body fat. For me, it was always about looking in the mirror, and if you looked in the mirror and you saw what you wanted, you were doing good. That's the way I was. There's no perfect. No matter what anybody does, they always want something better. I just wanted to be in the best shape I could for the weight I wanted, and I wanted to give the people a cartoon character looking body.
And what are your thoughts on why WWE never gave you a tag team championship run?
I got theories on that too. Just, I think I had a little bit of a demolition at that time. I think that's also part of the reason that we actually turned heel instead of saying babyface, because merchandising a babyface, you make big money. Heels, you don't make as much money. But I like I say, I don't look back and say anything bad. I understand it all. It took me a while to understand it now that I'm a lot older. But we definitely could have ran with the belts, no problem. Definitely could have.
Oh, definitely. I agree. And a fan said that Bushwhacker Luke did a shoot interview and told the story that apparently WCW was considering having you as like a sadistic Jewish type character at one point. Is this true?
Yeah, they're actually thinking about that at one time. Yeah, I met with them and they were thinking about it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And as far as Batista saying you were his favorite wrestler, what are your thoughts on that and Batista's career? He's one of the biggest movie stars right now, as well as a great wrestling career.
It's an honor. That's the biggest word I can say. It's an honor. I mean, you got a guy that looks up to you, and here he is. His career, he had a WWE, be champion and everything else. Not only that, but become one of the biggest international stars in films. I mean, I watch his films. I love him. I enjoy him. I think he's a good person. He's a good person because he doesn't go out and get in trouble. He does the right things. He's not going out doing bad things. He's doing good things. And all of his movie stuff's getting better and better all the time. I mean, I watch him in Riddick. I love his part in Riddick. I watch him in some other movies and a lot of other movies and that stuff. And like I say, he's becoming better and better all the time.
There was a fan that wanted me to ask you if you ever witnessed any of Curt Hennig's ribs.
Curt did a lot. I think probably the biggest one I saw Curt do was in the Washington D.C. at the Cap Center. He got mad at somebody, and he was able to get a hold of their bag, and he paid somebody to hang it from the very ceiling of the Cap Center. So like about 100 feet up and hanging and that stuff, Also, I saw him another time. He got mad at another guy. He got into their bag, and he bought like about 1,000 ladybugs. And he dumped the whole thing of ladybugs into his bag. So the guy opened up, he had like 1,000 ladybugs going over his stuff everywhere. Lady bags everywhere, And I know he did one other one, which another guy, he got hold of their shoes, and he put some dead rats in there, or dead mice. I think mice. So he put their feet in, and his guts just came all over the place, everywhere.
Wow. They don't do stuff like that today.
You can't do nothing like that now. You did anything like that, now you're gone.
And there was another fan that wanted me to ask you what your thoughts were of Zeus, because you were in WWE during his little run.
Zeus, yeah, I didn't know Zeus too well. Zeus, he was a unique character. He had that crazy eye, big black guy, like the way he was in that stuff, good build and that stuff. He was a gimmick. He didn't have to do much. He only had to do a couple things good, and that's all he needed to do because that's what the people believed in. He was totally a gimmick. In fact, I just saw Tiny. I just saw him back in January when Barbie were together with Demolition, and Tiny was there. And we got to see Tiny and talk for Tiny for a little bit. It was really nice seeing him. I mean, he's done pretty well in the movies. He had a couple good movies. He had some good B movies. He had some really good A movies. His parts has been really good that he's done.
And as far as the wrestlers who have passed away young, you've known a lot of them. Which one hit you the hardest?
Definitely Davey Boy. Davey Boy hurt. Hawk hurt. Kerry Von Erich hurt. When Jim the Anvil Neidhart died, that's when that hurt. But I knew Jimmy very well. Jim was a good person, that stuff, It's just hard, man. It's just so many guys. It's sad. It's like I talk to people I talk to being on that tour for all those army bases up and down. Of the 4 guys, I'm the only one living. All the other 3 are dead already. I look at some of my shirts with all the guys on it, and over half those guys are gone. It's sad. I mean, good people, their lives are gone too quick. Too quick.
Jim Neidhart, I interviewed him shortly before he passed, and he had really wanted to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, they put him in after he passed. Hopefully they don't do that with you, but I'm sure you got a long ways to go. But what are your thoughts on what the holdup is on getting you in the Hall of Fame?
It's all political. Who knows? Who knows? You'll never know. I mean, why did it take Brutus Beefcake so long to get there? He should have been there a long, long time ago, you know? Why did it take Davey so long to get there? He should have been there a long time ago, you know? I mean, why? Those guys should be there. You know, they should have been there a long time ago. You know, there's other people that should be there. They're great. They're great. And they're not there. And what about Demolition? They're not there. You know, I mean, it's some of it's just political, you know, and political should not come into when it comes to that kind of stuff. Shouldn't.
I think the Demolition, from what I've heard, it had to do with the concussions lawsuit. I think you were involved with that too. What was your reasoning for being involved in that? Obviously, you've had concussions throughout your career.
Just, you know, the thing is, you know, when you wake up, the headaches you have all the time. I have a lot of headaches these days yet. You know, the things you went through and that stuff, you know, I mean, you know, sometimes you can't even get a thought out sometimes. I've had definitely more trouble remembering things, much more than I ever used to, you know. You know, it's tough in that stuff, you know, and I just wish that, you know, I thank Vince for a lot of things because he gave me the opportunity to wrestle not only on a, you know, not national level, but on an international level. And also all the action figures, all that stuff that came on merchandise. I mean, I thank him for all that. I just wish he would have looked after us more. I just wish that Vince would have looked after all the guys more. And, you know, today, look at what they have now. Now you got doctors, you got chiropractors, you got everything at all these shows now. Guys are protected now. You know, you have a little concussion now, you got time off, man, to heal up, and you're paid. At our time, you didn't work, you weren't paid. You weren't. So if you had a concussion, you're still back out there. There was no concussion protocol back then. There was no anything for your health. There was no nothing. You had 2 agents at every show, and that was it. They had no clue on any of that stuff. And you had no time to go do anything. You didn't have the time. So, you know, it's tough. I just wish that, you know, he would have cared more about all of us.
Are you surprised that the first guy they've hired back out of that concussions lawsuit is Sylvain Grenier, of all people, who's back working for WWE as an agent?
You know what? I never say never to WWE. Never. Every time you say never, it happens. That's how they are. That's just how they are. And you say, oh, he's not going to go back there. Next thing you know, boom, he's back there. You know, it's the way they are.
And Billy Jack Haynes, he was one of the main people involved in that lawsuit. He definitely has CTE, without question. I've spent some time with him. There's some severe concussion issues there. Did you ever have much interaction with him?
You know, Billy was gone before I got there. I really didn't get to know Billy and that stuff, you know. You know, another way you talk about CTE, I'll tell you, I think Jim the Anvil Neidhart had CTE. Jimmy, I was with him one time with Luke, and he kept going over the same thing over and over and over because he kept forgetting, and he asked the same question over again. And I'm like, Luke, he says, listen, he says his daughters asked me to look after him, you know, when we're doing the show today, you know, because Jimmy's having a really hard time. You know, it's sad, you know. It's sad, you know. I've seen other guys that you can tell they're starting to go now. It's starting to happen to them.
Now, I imagine you've probably been attacked a lot for all your years doing security. What's your best self-defense advice you could give someone watching this?
Best self-defense? For me and that stuff, you know, always try to de-escalate everything you can. If you could possibly de-escalate that stuff, you know. If you have to do something, you know, use only the force necessary to take care of it. Don't do anything extra than that. Because I'll tell you what, people do respect that. They respect you doing your job. They don't respect you when you use extra force and hurt the person for no reason. That's the worst thing you can do. As you see what's happened with the police these days in the United States. You know, when they go that extra thing and they try to hurt the person after they're done. You know, especially that thing that happened in Minneapolis. You know, that should never, ever happen. Shouldn't happen. But it's like anything, you know. They're talking in our country about, you know, the police and stuff. Listen, 99% of the police are great people. You got your 1%. It's always your 1%. It's like if you know anything about motorcycle gangs, they got their 1% group. All the rest of the motorcycle guys are great. You got your 1%ers that ruin it for everybody else, you know. But people respect you doing your job. They respect that. Just don't hurt the person for no reason. There's no reason for that.
I had some issues dealing with motorcycle gangs, doing security. How do you approach them when you've had problems with them in the clubs?
Just be straightforward. They respect that. You know what I'm saying? Just be straightforward. Say, guys, man, brother, we can all get along, guys. I mean, if we can't, then I got to do what I got to do. But let's all get along. Let's just get along, man. Everybody just have fun. I work at a strip club. I help, and one of the things I always tell people: how can you want to get in a fight in here when you have all these beautiful naked girls walking around everywhere? I mean, come on. It's like the Garden of Eden. And you want to be miserable? I mean, you got a problem then. You definitely got a problem.
Now, I see you're wearing a Powers of Pain shirt. Is there anywhere fans can go online if they want to order something like that?
I haven't done it yet, but I'm looking into doing that. Because it's pandemic, I wanted a guy to print up a whole bunch more. Just because this thing, it just hasn't happened yet. When I get it set up, I want to get them out for sale because a lot of people have asked.
And obviously the pandemic has slowed down your wrestling bookings, but I've seen some recent videos. I think you're still in the ring.
Yeah, still out there. I mean, it's unfortunate that because of this, everything got shut down. I mean, everything I did, because everything I do is hands-on, just boom, like that quick.
Where can people book you if they want to reach out to you for an event or an autograph session?
Tell me to get hold of you.
Yeah, sure.
I really don't. I usually let Barb do it. I usually let Barb do everything. Barb loves doing that stuff. He loves it.
Yeah, I notice even for my own bookings, it's a lot of them are not the most credible people that reach out regarding that stuff.
Yeah, no, Barb loves to do all that stuff.
Okay, I see. And are you on social media at all if anyone wants to follow you?
No, I try to stay away from social media. I try to keep my life private. With all the social media stuff these days, everything else, and I just, everybody's just wants to be bigger than they are. I just want to try to enjoy my life a little bit. I really do. You get on social media and everybody this, that, and a lot of times I feel bad if I can't keep up with them or I can't answer them or something happened when I'm real busy, I can't do it. I feel bad because I want to be able to do that. Like when I get fan mail here at my house. I like to get it out. I like to get a picture of everybody out. I like to get everything out to them because if they can take the time to do it, I want to take the time to get it back to them.
And you've been in a couple of accidents. Pizza truck hit you, pizza delivery truck, I think. And you've also been in a motorcycle accident. How is your body holding up these days?
It's beat up. It's definitely beat up. I got all my disc in my neck are herniated. All my back is herniated. Got nerve damage in my right arm. All that, but you got to live on. You got to keep going. Working out, gym really helps me. It keeps the blood flowing all the time. That's why if you shut it up on people, it's one of the worst things you can do for them. It really is.
And yeah, I had a question from a fan that wanted me to ask you when the last time you had hair on your head was, because you're always known for the bald look.
Actually, when I went singles, WWF at the time. If you remember, when I was with Barb, I had red and black hair.
That's true.
And black on the other, and then when we split, that's when I went in and shaved my head. Then it was time to change and shave my head.
Is this something you have to do every day to keep it looking like it does now?
No, I just went ahead and had it shaved yesterday. I let it grow for a couple weeks. I started looking like Bozo the Clown. It was looking pretty bad.
Do you have any kids or anything to see a second generation Warlord?
No, my oldest son is married, has 3 kids up in Iowa. My younger son lives up in Pensacola, Florida. He's got a steady girlfriend now for a long time. I got a little grandson that's 10 years old. He's out with his dad right now in Texas in the Army. But if there would have been anybody, it'd be him that wanted to do it. He loves wrestling. Every time I would take him, he'd always be, right there. One time I actually walked to the ring. I turned around. He's standing right next to me. When I was sitting on the camp out here, and he always wanted me to paint his face up, Warlord, all the time, and all that stuff. So
I guess from all the toys that they put out with you over the years, you still will get residual checks here and there from WWE.
yeah, but it's a joke. I'm sure you heard that from everybody. It's not what you should. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you get this huge packet, and it's like, that's it. It's like, wow, you got to be kidding me. I mean, it's not much you can do about it.
Well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you taking the time to answer pretty much all the questions we had. Is there anything you'd like to say to the fans to finish this interview off?
I just want to thank the fans for always being there. It's great that after all these years that, they still love my generation. I think that I was a part of the best generation of NWA and definitely WWF. Definitely. The people are they're great people. It makes me feel really good. I mean, I still get fan mail to this day. And like I said, I like to get photos out to the people and get it to them so they can enjoy it, because like I said, they take the time. I want to take the time to get it back to them. And like I say, Barb and me are going to try doing it however long our bodies will last. We're still going to go out and try giving the people a great show they can enjoy. And you got some old school. We're the last tag team of WWF from our generation. Barb and me is it. Everybody's done. They're gone. We are it. So that's true. Yeah. So people, when they come out, they go, "Wow, you guys, that's amazing."
The only other tag team that's still going is Barb and Haku, which is not WWE.
But they were WCW, right?
Yeah.
Right. They're the only other one. Yes. Yep.
Which reminds me, last question. As a heel myself, do you have any advice to young wrestlers out there on being a heel?
Practice, look in mirrors and practice a lot of facial expressions. Facial expressions mean so much in wrestling. They really, really do. Practice a lot. These days, it's on work, but also just it's on talking. Become a good talker. However you are. If you're a badass heel, be a devious person. Devious. I mean, and when you're in the ring, like I did, I would nail them, and then boom, they would be selling. I just walk them like I'm just looking for my prey. Wait for the prey, boom, I just work them down. They're my prey. It's like just like out in the wilderness, You got your fox that goes after a rabbit. He gets a rabbit. He doesn't kill him. Just kind of follows him and keeps killing him slowly along the way. You do the same thing in the ring. It just depends what kind of heel you are. If you're a big heel, just be mean, strong, tough. Don't take bumps. Don't take bumps unless it's meant. Not until it's meant. That's a big thing. Barb and me never took bumps until it was going to mean something. It's very important. If you're taking bumps, you don't mean nothing as a big heel. When you're a big heel, you make that bump mean something. And people go crazy. So
very good advice in a world where people take a ton of bumps these days. So thanks again very much for talking to us. You're one of my favorites. I think we see your wife in the background there.
Yeah, she's always trying to show up something.
I'm the one who took care of this big guy. That's why he's stuck like this.
Can you beat him up too, like Barbarian's wife beats him up?
Except she's tiny. But believe me, she rules the house, okay? She rules it.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month to watch our full shoot interviews ad-free and help our channel grow. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.